Commissioner is in the house.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
It's going to be another week. Obviously, we wake up and find out that the Dow had to stop. I mean, they had to stop the market this morning and say, oh, geez, Louise. And the president's talking about how, perhaps he should have been a doctor because he's that good at understanding this whole situation. I'm taking deep breaths like I think a lot of you are too. Our education commissioner is in the house, and I wonder, what's it like to try to reform while the world is spinning on a couple of different axes? So we'll talk to her about that this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, here was our headline that we woke up to this morning, that the machines had to stop trading, at least for a 15-minute period of time, so everybody could regroup. And at press time at 1:30, by the way, nobody changed the clock. That stopped. Spring ahead. At 1:30 this afternoon, the market was only down about 1,500 points. So that kind of made me feel better. Jill Schlesinger had analysis.
This is really about uncertainty, and uncertainty is what creates that volatility. And until we understand the spread of the virus in the United States and efforts to contain and mitigate it, I think that volatility is likely to continue.
Yeah, and what we don't need is a president sounding like he's on Pluto. That's what affects the markets. Correlating the Ukrainian call to his understanding of testing, and the CDC guys are sitting there going, how can I get myself out of this situation? Somewhere along the line, somebody's going to find it patriotic inside the Trump administration to say, you know what, the guy's not ready for this. What that will mean, I'm not exactly sure. How that will manifest itself, I'm not so sure. Anyway, headlines on the coronavirus. Now we're talking about schools intermittently across the board. I'm not sure. It's tough to figure out. Let me ask the Education Commissioner about this. First, this is really not part of the agenda. It's the turnaround agenda that we're talking about, but I'm not exactly sure what it's like to be turning around an entire state school system when you're in the middle of this. But nobody said it was going to be easy for anybody, no matter what their work is. Welcome. Nice to see you. Great to have you aboard. Oh, we'll put that on silent.
Thank you for having me here.
Nice to have you.
Yeah.
What's going on with the total statewide school plan? There's discussions about hybrid learning. We've got the St. Ray's situation, which of course is a private school, and they're dealing with, an Italy trip returned and kind of on the back end of what seems to be their quarantine or their at-home learning situation. A lot to handle. Digest it for us.
So,
or lay it out for us, I guess.
I think we've been working with the Department of Health. We have been putting in a plan. So last Sunday we had a conference call at 8:30 in the evening with all superintendents, but also charter leaders, private school, the archdiocese, because it didn't matter whether they were public or private. All our kids go to these schools, and their siblings across the board. So we have been keeping them updated. We're giving them information daily, and this changes from day to day. And what we have been doing is collecting kind of like the vector. Who do you have contact with? How do you eliminate? How do you clean? What the protocol looks like? We have been working really closely with the schools to ensure that that's happening. We also work with the bus companies. After every run, cleaning, afternoon, morning, so that our kids are safe as much as we can keep them safe.
I guess the COVID-19 virus is less damaging to the kids, so it seems we understand, right? Which is a relief.
Absolutely.
But you don't want them to be carriers.
Right, and that's why we have been pretty clear. If you're not feeling well, stay home. If you have any sniffles, please stay home. We've asked adults to keep their kids home, because you can only catch it when you have the actual symptoms. So that has been really important for us. That's why we're asking people to self-quarantine. So we are being very vigilant. I think that we have responded well, and we keep everybody informed. It's a day-to-day situation for us as we move forward. So you ask, how are we dealing with this? This is tough, because we want to maintain accurate information into the system, and we want to make sure that we're not panicking when we don't need to be. And I think that that's really important for us as we move forward. As you've probably heard, the governor has asked for a moratorium on international trips organized by schools, as well as interstate travel unless there's an approval process. So that's important for us.
Yeah, the governor actually, I'm sure this is the challenge we have when we record each daily show in the early afternoon. The governor was scheduled for a 4:30 update with the Department of Health, and reportedly she was putting some new programs into place, including but not limited to service employees being supported by financial instruments. It's hard for people to self-quarantine for 14 days and find out it comes out of their own personal leave, or they're not paid for that. I mean, there's an entire systemic response that the country is not really seemingly souped up for. And then it seems, based on Washington's chasing its tail, really, literally on a CDC basis, that state governments are going to have to step up and take charge of what seems to be the quality of life stuff that comes around the battle on this virus. Agreed?
Agreed. And one of the things that we have been talking to employers is, let's not penalize if possible, because this is for the health of Rhode Island. So let's see how far that goes. Right now, it's under control in terms of how many people have been self-quarantined, and we're following them very closely. I say we because we're working very closely with the Department of Health as it all unfolds day by day. But the governor has been pretty clear, with us at least, that we should not penalize people that work for us in terms of days and how we move forward.
Well, it's easy for the governor to make recommendations to private industry. They'll either take the recommendations or they won't. The public sector is a whole different ballgame, because a lot of the employee relationships are governed by contract. We'll talk a little bit about your contract issues coming up with the turnaround with the Providence schools.
Yep.
But there's a lot of rubber in between the road there, right, when it comes to how to figure this thing out. Hopefully we don't get to a place where we've got mass calling in, mass self-quarantine decisions. Hopefully we don't have anybody abusing that system, but you probably have your work cut out for you trying to track legitimacy and then the legitimate financial making whole of people who have to do that involuntarily.
That's right. I think it's a process for us, and we're laying it out, and we're trying to figure out how we move forward with legitimate cases, right? And if people abuse that, then that's unfortunate, because we're going to try to figure out a balance between that. We just don't want people coming to work that are sick, especially in my field.
Yeah, and I don't want to lead the conversation into abuse. There's no indication that anybody wants to be in the game out there. And frankly, not that there should ever be a stigma to catching this bug, because it's a bug, right?
Right.
Nobody wants to be saying, yeah, I'm self-quarantining for no good reason. Nobody wants to be in that space. All right, when we come back, we will talk about the reform space. There's a lot going on and some progress this weekend. Stay with us. So in the meantime, normal progress is being made. Here's coverage of that.
Now it's about the kids, and it can only be about the kids.
Rhode Island Education Commissioner Angélica Infante-Green told Eyewitness News the state will release its so-called turnaround plan for Providence schools next month, taking recommendations from 3 design teams which came up with dozens of ideas, like requiring 2 family teacher conferences a year or implementing neighborhood schools.
95% of them will be in the plan because they have all looked at data. So this is not that they sat down and they just kind of willy-nilly. They looked at the data, how it correlates to the outcomes.
One design team member and parent, Jenny Edelman, describes why she is passionate about turning around Providence's schools.
The work that I've been doing in the public schools is helping me think about what we need to do for the whole community to improve the educational outcomes and the community feeling inside the schools.
Infante-Green said this community involvement allowed for everyone to have a seat at the table.
This is the seat. This is what's going to drive the change in Providence.
She also revealed the state has picked a new curriculum for kindergarten through 8th grade in Providence. She wouldn't say who the vendor is yet, as negotiations aren't finalized.
We selected a curriculum that would support also our multilingual learners, because Providence has a growing rate of these students, and we have really failed those students.
All right, so lay this out. What does this all mean?
What does it all mean? So we have been working with the community since December. We selected the community. We had about 220 people apply. We have 45 team members that have been working more than 40 hours now, unpaid, to really look at what are the spaces where we need to change. So community engagement being one of them, how parents interact with the schools, how the schools interact with parents and the community at large. Instruction, what does that look like in the schools? And then who are the teachers? Who are the teachers that we need to hire, we need to support? What are the materials that we need? So all that is in their recommendations. And now the plan will be developed, and we'll have a plan by the end of April that we're going to be able to share.
When you say, who to hire to teach and that kind of thing, it feels like almost a zero-based project.
Well, no, I think...
How does that work?
So
it's going to result in a lot of teacher transfers,
it's going to result in a lot of change.
Yeah.
So I think that there are infrastructures that currently are not working, and we know that.
Meaning, what's an infrastructure that's not working?
So I'll give you a quick example. We have 90 vacancies right now in Providence. Teaching vacancies. So there was a process where we had to wait to hire teachers from outside until we went through the whole process with internal candidates, which would put us close to the end of the school year. So we went and met with the union, and we went through arbitration, and we got rid of that. Because if we have 90 vacancies, we have to be able to hire any qualified teacher. We can't wait for this cycle to go through so that we can bring in candidates. So there's a lot of infrastructure things that need to change. That, to me, is number one as we move forward.
Okay, so I interrupted you. So infrastructure, it's not zero-based. It's the work product from this project is what minor or major piece to the reform?
Major.
Okay.
So it's major, because this is going to be the plan that drives what happens at PPSD.
Did you have enough educators in this consortium that you built up to expertly drive this?
Yes.
Or does it not matter that it was good people, common sense, good faith, hard work coming together, and it's now your and the new superintendent's responsibility to tweak it and augment that to the expertise, curriculum, execution plan?
It's both. So we had educators, we had administrators, we had parents, we had students, we had community leaders. So what they were doing is, what are the challenges that we have been facing for the last 30 years? What are the things that they would like to see changed based on the data? So it was, okay, we have this absenteeism rate for students. What needs to change? What are the levers that we need to pull? We have, the students are 10% of them can do math on grade level. What does the curriculum look like? What are the professional development opportunities? How are we holding the right people accountable? How is everybody held accountable, not just one subset? So those are the things that are in the plan, and then the superintendent and I have to meet and figure out, how do we execute? And is anything missing? Are there other pieces that need to be put in? So that's all what this looks like. And by the end of April, we'll have something that we can share across this publicly.
Share and then what? Implement for the new school year?
That's right. Implement now and the new school year, because I don't want anyone to think that things are not happening right now. So there are things that are taking place now that will let us hit the ground running in September, but we still have the rest of the school year. And those shifts need to start happening as we speak. For example, today the superintendent and I talked about deploying the central staff to schools. They need to be in the schools. They need to be working on the ground. So
what kind of central staff?
Well, we have people that do curriculum development, professional development, but now they have to be in the school. That is part of the agenda. So we have to reshape and reconfigure what that looks like. So there will be another iteration of change at the district level. And that is extremely important. And it feels uncomfortable, but I think we have to figure out what are the things that need to happen right now as opposed to what's going to happen
Well, how
in
many
September.
bureaucracy do you have that have to now get into the school? And do you have a curriculum director? Do you have 10 of them? You have 20 of them? What is
We
it?
have a curriculum director, but we have coaches that work with them. So they need to be in there every single day. Some of them are, but with a different direction. It's in the classrooms, working, helping the principal reorganize, thinking about things a little differently, being strategic, as opposed to I'm going to work with the teacher that wants to work with me. This is a real strategic plan at the school level, and how are we going to work with everybody that needs to move quickly?
You know, it's all in your head, and you articulate it well. But you know what I mean. It's very inside baseball to most of the people who are watching this show, thinking, okay, well, they're shaking up process. You know, good luck to them. I mean, I don't know when the changes that you've implemented will become wholesale understood by the general public. At the end of the day, it's going to be the metrics, right?
That's right. But that won't happen right away.
The metrics are going to take time.
Correct. The metrics are going to take time. We put together a document of everything we've done since we have intervened in Providence in the last 3.5 months, so that people can see what are the steps that we have taken, what are the things that have happened. So when you think about a curriculum for an entire district, I know that to someone who's not in education, that sounds like an easy task. It's not. We brought together over 100 teachers to sit down and look at it, look at the standards. What are we measuring? Is this high quality? That's a big deal.
I think, you know, that's, excuse me, that's important. When we come back, I want to talk about the teacher role in this whole thing, and you know, kind of a puzzling experience I had a weekend ago. Stay with us. So this is a headline from the Boston Globe. Dan McGowan was in attendance at this teacher union all-comers, parents invited seminar last weekend, where Ms. Weingarten, the head of the National Teachers Union, came in and made a stomping speech. I caught most of it because I wanted to see what was going on, and the postscript on this, which I really don't want to get too much into. The story is about a little bit of a texting conversation you and she had on logistics. She kind of told her story in front of the group. Dan, the enterprising journalist that he is, put a public records request out for you to cough up your texts. Yep. Which, if you didn't know, as a public figure, end up becoming a public document. Welcome to the Rhode Island news world. Have you had a conversation with her? Are you back on the same page, or is that an estranged relationship between the National Teacher Union leader and you, or just a kind of a sideshow?
I don't know. You know, I think there was a little bit of theatrics at that session. I don't know. Dan appered my texts. I shared them. I have nothing to hide. What I say publicly is what I say privately. I don't. It is what it is.
Okay. So that aside, I was fascinated by the session because she was offering these models for educational improvement, and her perspective is that the models need to be all executed through a collective bargaining agreement, which makes people like me wince, because I'd like to see almost an 80-page document or whatever it is get down to 10 pages and really be a very simple, stupid type of approach, not to disrespect the hero teachers that we have, but to get just to get the basics of employment structure done, raises, retirement, sick days, whatever, and then let's work together on educational stuff.
Correct.
She sees it very differently. Everything that you're working on, she wants to see rolled into, described, and alliterated in a contract.
Well, that's not going to happen, Dan, because at the end of the day, a contract is a contract for teachers, for their protection, and that can't be, that's what's gotten us in this place. I have to tell you that for us to make any little change, everybody goes back to the contract and says, no, you can't do that. And that's not where we want to be. This organization has to be nimble, and it is not right now. Everything is in this contract, spelled out word for word. So I'll give you an example. We have special education teachers that fall under some title, and if we need them to do something else in special ed, they can't, because that is not in their contract. So we either want to change the system or not. And for me, we have to really understand that we are not in balance right now. Right now, there's a lot of things that should not be in that contract that are not in many other contracts. So I found out last week that teachers don't have to come to parent-teacher conference. That is unheard of in my world. Unheard of. Those, you know, as a teacher, I used to look forward to those days.
I'm guessing most of them do.
Some.
Not most.
I can't say that. I had a principal stand up at our last community design meeting and said that only 30% of the teachers came. And the reason I found out is PCTA put out the list of all the teachers that would be in attendance, and then there was a note at the bottom that said, if your teacher's name is not listed here, that person will not be here. That's not okay. It's not okay, Dan. It just really is not. And we're not trying to shortchange teachers at all. We're trying to work with teachers. Teachers want the system to be better.
Here's the thing, and I only have 2 minutes. We could have talked about this for 2 hours. But it seems to me, in my attendance at this event, while teachers applauded a lot of her ideas, I think, because some of them were naturally smart, whether they're inside a contract or not, and some of the things, I think the applause was perfunctory. I know how much work you've done on the ground with teachers. This thing you just talked about had 100 some odd teachers involved. I actually got a kind of feeling that they were kind of going through the motions with their union side of business to be aware, to be present. But I didn't feel the rapidity of union. You know what I'm talking about? The rapidity of union. Centric solution to this, because you've done so much work already with them. They can't keep flipping their hats between teacher and teacher who's a union member, teacher and teacher who, and I got a sense that some of the work that you've already done and put in place is percolating.
I hope so, because I meet with teachers weekly. I go to their schools. I ask them what they want to see. Some of the conditions that they're working under should not be. So they know. Many of them come and whisper and say, hey, we're behind you. We're with you. I don't need them to whisper. I need us to get to a place that we're all working together for a better system for all of them.
You know, as I sit here, it dawns on me that we had this entire conversation, and the last time you were here too, and never talked about the facilities. But the first time you came here, I tortured you on the facilities.
Yes.
I got 30 seconds left. What's going on with the facilities?
Well, there's a bond, and what the city had before was safe, warm, and dry. We have taken that bond, and it's going to look very different. Once we're figuring out one last piece, and we're looking at creating new schools, not just fixing roofs, not just fixing leaky pipes. We're not going to do that anymore. We're really going to make a big splash. Hopefully, the next time I come, I can make an announcement about where the big changes are going to happen. There was no swing space. Swing space for everybody is a space where we house kids temporarily until we do something better.
All right. Next time, come quickly. Good to see you.
Thank
the Ed
you.
Commissioner. Final word when we come back. We'll meet with the chairperson of the state Republican Party. They've got a lot of things going on, and the current controversy at the State House with the Speaker and the ongoing investigation, which doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, is certainly a focus there. So, and then there's just stuff like legislation and bills and concepts and how we spend our money and education and all that kind of thing. So we'll do that tomorrow. See you on the radio at 3-2 on WPRL. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.